We have a bunch of stuff to talk about, so let's just get into the video. All right, guys, before we get into this, I'm trying to hit 10K subscribers. Almost there. I would love for you to join me on the ride, so hit that subscribe button. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is Redfall. Redfall, as we know, we got the official release date at the developer direct. It's gonna be one of Xbox's biggest games this year, coming out on May 2nd. And I'm really excited for this game. It's one of those games that when they first showed off, I was kind of confused, kind of iffy on whether it would be something I was that into. But then they came out, gave us more information, showed us gameplay, and announced that, hey, this is going to have an entirely single player campaign you can play through alone. And knowing Arcane, their pedigree with the single player experiences, the world building in games like Dishonored, that got me really excited. So this is a game I can't wait to play. I'll probably play most of it alone, but I think that the 4-player co-op is going to add a lot of variety to the game, which will be a lot of fun. But when it comes to the single player campaign, we got some more news, and this was found via the FAQ page for Redfall, and it has to do with an online connection. So it says here, this is again via the FAQ page, a persistent online connection is required for single player and co-op. Now, this isn't that surprising. We're in this digital age that honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of. I like my physical games, but when it comes to Xbox, most of my stuff is digital because of Game Pass and having a Series S and a Series X and being able to play these games on both of those consoles easily. It's just so much more convenient to go digital, especially on the Xbox consoles. But when it comes to single player stuff like this, where let's say your internet is out, your power is still up, but your internet just isn't working, and you want to jump in and play some Redfall, you're not going to be able to do this. You're going to have to always be logged in. And this goes all the way back to the Xbox One era with the DRM stuff that they had announced that people got extremely angry about, and they had to go back on that. We fast forward now to this generation, and I would say that DRM stuff that they announced with the Xbox One is here. I mean, you have to pretty much log in and do a check-in to these servers for most games now to be able to access them and play them, a check into the Xbox network and to the PlayStation network, all that type of stuff to verify that you own a lot of these games. And it's, I would say, the downfall of the digital era, and we'll see the results of this going forward in years later when people want to go ahead and play these games that are not going to be able to anymore, mainly because they're not even going to be accessible or supported via any of these servers or anything that's supporting them. And then we also see things like on the stores where these digital games are being delisted. The Xbox 360 is delisting a bunch of games starting February 7th that if you don't go ahead and buy them, you're not going to be able to play them. You're not going to be able to get access to them if you don't buy them before February 7th, unless you're able to find a physical version of these games. So these are just parts of the, I guess, gaming world that we've evolved into, some of the drawbacks of having the always online connection. Although there are positives, just in terms of the convenience of it, in terms of being able to always connect and play with everybody seamlessly. That type of stuff is a good thing, but I don't see why a internet connection will always be needed for the single player part of the game. For most people, I mean, you're always connected to the internet. This isn't going to be a big deal. But if you're one day, you have your Xbox, it's not connected, you're not going to be able to play Redfall single player. But the other side of the thing is, I mean, thank God it's coming to Game Pass, because if you went ahead and bought this game, who knows, years down the line, if you just would never be able to access it and play it anymore, which to me makes no sense, especially, like I said, because it has that single player campaign. All right, let's talk about this. And this is probably some of the most disappointing news that I've seen in a very long time. And it has to do with EA canceling a single player game named Titanfall Legends. So Titanfall is an incredible franchise. Titanfall 2, the campaign was one of the best first-person shooter campaigns I think I've ever played. It was absolutely incredible. Great gameplay, great story, just so well done. Problem with Titanfall 2 is it didn't sell well. It came out at a time crunched between Call of Duty and Battlefield, and for some reason people went and played those games that were ultimately much worse than Titanfall 2 instead of picking up and playing Titanfall 2. And it also had an incredible multiplayer. And then we've seen the branch off of Titanfall, which is Apex Legends Battle Royale, which has been an absolute hit. And all of these games come from Respawn. Respawn is an incredible developer. Everything that they touch, I think, turns to gold. You look at Jedi Fallen Order, and we're going to get Jedi Survivor coming this year. The Titanfall series, Apex, all just incredible games. In terms of Titanfall, people are wondering, is there ever going to be a Titanfall 3? People love the game. It's one of those games that after the fact, after no one bought it initially, people fell in love with it and are now waiting to see if there's going to be another release. And it looks like there was actually a single player game that was going to be coming out for Titanfall called Titanfall Legends that was in development, and now it has been canceled. It says here, according to Jason Schreier, EA has ceased the development of game based on Apex Legends and Titanfall franchises known as Titanfall Legends internally. The game was being developed by Respawn Entertainment and was publicly unannounced. And the game had originally been directed by Mohamed Alavi, and Alavi left the company in 2022. So maybe that's had something to do with it. Maybe your director leaves. Hey, we don't have any more direction. We don't know where to go with this game. But it was a team of about 50 people that are looking to be put on other projects now within EA. So that's unfortunate. And it kind of crushes my hopes right now that we'll ever see anything new from Titanfall, at least in the near future, which sucks because the game is just so good. If you haven't checked out Titanfall 2, go check it out. Go download it. It's absolutely worth it. All right, let's talk about PlayStation Plus Collection. So if you remember, PlayStation Plus Collection gave 20 games if you were signed up to PlayStation Plus. And this was at the launch of the PlayStation 5. This was something they put out because the launch of the PS5, there was Miles Morales, there was Demon Souls, there was Sackboy. So there's actually a decent amount of launch games, but short games. Like Miles Morales, you probably could beat in like one sitting, 2 sittings, no problem. It was very, very short. Then you had Demon Souls, which was a remake, and then Sackboy, which I don't know how many people actually played Sackboy Big Adventure, but it was a pretty cool platforming game. But then there was a big gap between those releases at launch and then what was going to be coming out next from first party for PlayStation. I think the next game that came out was it Returnal, I believe, or it was Ratchet and Clank? It was March, June. So there's a couple of months in there where there was nothing to play. And one of the things to hold people over was going to be this PlayStation Plus collection, which gave you a bunch of backwards compatible games, but tons of great stuff to play. First party games, third party games. It was actually a pretty good collection that I checked out myself when I did get my PS5. Including games like God of War, Fall of 4, Mortal Kombat, Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank, Days Gone, Until Dawn, Battlefield 1, Resident Evil 7, just like a bunch of good stuff in there that you're definitely worth checking out. I thought it was actually a pretty decent offering that the PlayStation Plus collection was giving to PlayStation users, and it's still been available. If you sign up to PlayStation Plus now, you will still get the PlayStation Plus collection, I guess, until now that they are going to be canceling it. So it says here, for May 9th, the collection of 19 games will no longer be offered. SIE said on Wednesday, games can still be redeemed until this date and will be available after the 2 users who remain PlayStation Plus subscribers. And previously, Jim Ryan had commented on the PlayStation Plus collection on whether it was going to be expanded or not. Obviously, now we know it's not going to be expanded, but he said this: while we're going to wait and see how the world receives the PlayStation Plus collection, you know which games are played, how much they're played before we make any decisions about that. We think it's potentially going to be a great user acquisition tool. Arguably, if you never had a PS4 and you choose to buy a PS5, you basically get a PS4, right? And I think it has something to do with this. This is just my speculation. If you remember their last reports back in November, PlayStation had announced that they had lost nearly 2 million subscribers with PlayStation Plus, but their actual revenues had seen an increase, their gaming revenues. So subscribers were down, but they were still making more money, which you could argue, I guess that's a good thing overall. And how would they be making more money though if their subscribers were down? Well, my guess is that a lot of people just didn't re-up to PlayStation Plus, but there was a large chunk of people that decided to go up to the higher tiers, meaning less people subscribe to the service, but paying more money overall, which increases your revenue. And I think with the PlayStation Plus collection, with them canceling it on May 9th, they're really trying to take away any incentive at all to get into the PlayStation Plus Essentials tier. I mean, you get those monthly games and you get to play online, but if you were looking for a larger catalog of games, you're going to at the very least be signing up to the extra tier, which you're paying more money every single month, which is essentially what PlayStation wants to do overall. They want to get the majority of their users who sign into their network every day to have that extra or premium level for the PlayStation Plus subscription, because that's going to make them a ton more revenues and a ton more money going forward, having people pay money every single month, more than the lowest amount, which I think is like $5 for PlayStation Plus Essential. But I don't know how people are going to take this. I don't know if people are really upset that the PS Plus collection is gone. Were they even playing any of these games? Maybe PlayStation was looking at the numbers and realized that their gamers on PlayStation just weren't even touching these games. So why will we continue to offer this when we can use them as incentive to get people to either buy them or jump into the higher tiers of service? Finally, let's talk about a rumor and a leak that I had talked about in a video a couple of days ago. And generally when I talk about leaks and rumors, I always say like, this could absolutely be fake, could be false. It's just something I like to talk about. We speculate and get everyone's opinion on it. In that video, I don't think I made it clear enough. And it was my fault. So I've taken that video down just so nobody goes and watches it and think it's anything to even think about, because it was really stupid when I look back at it. First of all, it was a tweet from the Red Dragon promoting it. So obviously the chances are that it's fake and it's wrong because it was anti-Xbox thing, probably very high. But we have this, and it was talking about the rumors about Starfield being in bad shape and Azure losing them tons of money. And then there's all these things with them trying to push these games out, whatever. It was from apparently the leaker who talked about Hi-Fi Rush being shown off. Now, Hi-Fi Rush, I didn't look far enough into it, but he was definitely, that person there was definitely not the first person to announce Hi-Fi Rush was potentially going to be shown at the show. There's plenty of people before that. I think even Jeff Grubb was one of the first people. And the next subsequent rumor that person was trying to start was that Starfield was in rough shape and that they had to try to push it out to save Azure because Azure was losing a ton of money. Now, those seem to all be fake. They seemingly have no truth to them, or at least the person saying this has zero credibility. So you probably should just ignore those statements. And I just want to point that out here because we have Pure Oval here on Twitter saying the leaks and rumors about Starfield being in a bad shape is likely fake. He was not the first person to say Hi-Fi Rush would be released that day. And a statement about Microsoft needing Starfield to offset Azure losses do not make sense. Azure is growing and reduced losses. And a video was made by the Vault Wanderer on YouTube. I'll have it linked in the description below, kind of showing why these statements were just somebody looking at news that has come up previously and then making random claims that have no actual truth to them, or at least no credibility to them coming from the leaker. But when it comes to Hi-Fi Rush, again, one of the things fanboys were talking about, PlayStation fanboys were talking about, was the narrative that there was this game in development as well for PlayStation, and then after Xbox acquired Bethesda, they scrapped it. Now we have confirmation from John Johannes himself saying that that is not true. And just for those who don't know, John Johannes is the game designer at Tango Gameworks, who is the director of Hi-Fi Rush. So I'll just play it for you. Here's what he says.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have like a specific console in mind even at that point. We were just kind of going for what looked cool. And then obviously then the acquisition happened, and then it sort of like our console was then defined. So I know people were saying it's like, oh, there was like, it's like a PlayStation prototype running somewhere. It's like, no, like it was just running on a PC. It's like,
you're too in the weeds if you're seeing that.
So there you have it. I mean, isn't that how most games get developed on PC and then they get put onto the consoles later after that? So Xbox acquires Bethesda, they hadn't imported anything over to a console, but now they knew that this game had to be only developed for that specific console. It's probably helped them with optimization a ton. But at the end of the day, there is no credibility to this game already being developed and ready to ship out on PlayStation, but they had to pull it because of the Bethesda deal. And finally, I want to talk about this one here because my friend Crazy Louie Gaming got credit for it from Idle Sloth, and it has to do with Phil Spencer's shelf with an Alan Wake faceplate, the Xbox 360 faceplate on the back. What could that mean? Could mean anything. Maybe nothing. Probably means nothing, to be completely honest. But hey, you never know. Maybe Alan Wake 2 is going to be making its way out onto Xbox Game Pass. It would be a fitting release for that, considering the first Alan Wake was an Xbox 360 exclusive. But that's it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff, the rumors, Titanfall, and Redfall needing a persistent online connection even for single player. You enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. You're new here, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.
We'll be right back.